Chaotic Chintan, an attempt to understand the chaos around us. My name is Pankaj Kumar, and I have Vaidehi with me.
Hello.
Today, actually, we are going to talk about Republic Day, as it is around the corner. And actually, we are also doing an experiment today. We are calling it What Would You Do? And Vaidehi has agreed to be the first victim of this experiment. Probably I'll be the next one at some point, but Vaidehi is going to attempt
At your service.
to answer my weird question. So in what would you do experiment, what we are trying to understand is, if you were there at a point in history, would you have done things differently at that point, given the context and given all the things that are happening around the world at that time and your position? To set some context, before I set some context, please like and subscribe and hit the notification button if you like the content, and please do comment and tell us how we can improve our videos.
Yes.
Okay, so to set some context, we are talking about 3rd June 1947, and Lord Mountbatten has just released his Mountbatten Plan. So when I say his Mountbatten Plan, it's actually the United Kingdom's plan, which talks about two major things. There are lots of things under that, but there are two important things that it talks about. One is giving sovereignty to India and partition of India. Sovereignty to India, will come to that. Partition of India, as you should know already, that India was divided into East Pakistan and West Pakistan and a large chunk of India in between, with some princely states who were undecided at this point. So this is 3rd June 1947. Independence Day is a couple of months away. So at this point, we have just gotten over with 2 world wars, and India's population is 35 crores, 350 million, and 80% of that population is still poor. So we were below poverty line in 1947, and only 12% literacy rate. So just to clarify, when we say literacy rate, if you can write your name, you are literate. So that's the standard that we have.
You can write your name in your mother tongue, you're literate.
Yes. So given this context, Vaidehi,
Yes.
what would you do? This is 3rd June 1947.
Yes.
What would you do next?
Okay. So it's 3rd June 1947, which means that I'm going to be in charge of a nation shortly. Now, it's obviously not possible to write an entire book of laws overnight that defines how everybody would like to govern themselves and what governance structures are going to exist. So the pragmatic thing to do at this time would be to continue following the laws that are already written and in force, which would be the Government of India Act 1935. So I would have India remain a dominion under the United Kingdom's empire, and continue following this civil code and continue with the set of elected representatives from the general election conducted by the previous British government, and then try to figure out what my book of laws or a constitution would be.
Okay. So when you say constitution, so for younger audience who don't know what a constitution is a set of principles that we all agree to follow and follow to govern the country. So if you are a state, you need to have a set of principles that are defined and accepted by the public, if it is a democracy. If it is not, then whatever the form of government is that decides. But in a democracy, usually a codified constitution is used.
And considering this will be a democracy, that is the plan.
Yes.
To go ahead with a constitution.
Okay. Okay, so you are going to write, or you are going to create a constitution. How will you go about writing a constitution? Like, India is a very diverse country. We have a lot of communities, lot of history, and lot of geography as well. How will you go about writing a constitution? And like, where do you start? Like, what will you do?
Okay, so first thing, I would look for inspiration, and as I can't keep waiting infinitely for it to strike, I would go and reference constitutions from other democratic countries. So, for example, the US is known for its rights and freedom to people, the UK for its parliamentary structure, the Soviet Union for fundamental duties and nation building principles. So, and first and foremost, which that should have been France, the whole principles and the philosophy behind a republic. So I would look to inspiration in all of these constitutions, and I would look for the good takeaways from them.
That's an interesting thought, Vaidehi. So what you are suggesting, and when you say France, I'm assuming you're talking about the French Revolution, which sort of brought the idea of equality and liberty to all human beings. You may think it's obvious now, but history is not that straightforward, and liberty and equality were not obvious and were not human rights always. So yes, so that makes sense. So you want to pick it up from other countries where they have already implemented some form
Yes.
of constitution. Yeah. Okay. So I get the idea that you will sort of copy it from other countries. I get a sense that if we had ChatGPT, this job might have been a lot easier in 1947 than it was. But it's not going to be easy task to do. Who will you get to do this? Like, are you going to do it yourself?
Of course
I
not.
hope not.
Considering that looking at constitutions traveling the world requires a human being poring over hundreds of pages of extremely technical legal documents, it would then naturally require someone with legal expertise, lawyers of that period. It would require economists to understand how the country is going to function, how people are going to finance their growth, and it would require people who understand the different forms of governance and people who have implemented social reforms in the past so that we know that they would like to build a just and inclusive society. So that would be my approach. I would look for people with all of these qualities.
Okay, so you want to find smart people who have the technical know-how of law, economy, and philosophy, I suppose. Just again, to provide some context, I think in 1940s there were lots of lawyers in India
Oh, yes.
in prominent positions, and also a lot of philosophers. Like philosophy was a thing that people used to read a lot. I'm not sure how many people read philosophy nowadays, but there were lots of people who were reading philosophy in those days.
So most of our freedom fighters were in fact lawyers.
The popular ones, yes.
Yes, it enabled them to study the law at the time and actually bring us to where we are today in 1947.
Yeah. So when we say they studied law, this is law in the UK's context. So
Yes.
they used to usually travel to UK and complete their
Study.
barrister studies,
And then see how that helps us.
yes.
Yes.
Which also probably made them articulate. A lot of our popular leaders were very articulate, be it Jawahar Nehru, Pandit Jawahar Nehru, or Mahatma Gandhi, or at this point, because this is still pre-independence, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. They were all barristers.
Yep.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you will select really smart people. How will you select these people? How will you find these people, and from where will you go to the universities and find the toppers? What's your plan?
So one, I'm now working with the constraint of time. I need to quickly as possible, build a new set of laws that is acceptable to the people and not just continue with the current dominion status. So given this constraint, and the fact that we already have a set of elected representatives from a previous general election, my approach would be to have those representatives select amongst themselves the people best suited for the job of drafting and reviewing the constitution.
Okay. So you will pick people from within the elected
Well,
college.
they would pick it themselves.
Yes. Okay. They will pick themselves from among their
Themselves.
peers. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But then this will provide. There is certain criticism to this approach that this does not have universal suffrage. So, for instance, you have not actually asked the people to select these people. These people are selected by the existing elected members. So it's sort of is not really democratic at this point, isn't it?
Well, yes, but as of today, we have 350 million people or 35 crores people in our population in a huge country, widespread over different terrains, and I do not have any single mode of reaching all of these people at the same time and garnering their opinion in a reasonable amount of time, not even within a few months or a year. And therefore, I have to work with what I have best, which is the representatives of these people that the people have chosen a while ago, and draft a constitution and then possibly share it in specific societal groups for consultation and make it as inclusive as possible.
Again, just for everyone's context, this is 1947. Radio was invented 40 years back, not even just around 45-ish years back, and technology was not a thing that was available to everyone, and electricity was not available everywhere as well.
Yes.
So it's very difficult to imagine a past without a lot of things that we take it for granted today. For instance, when we think of mobile phones, if you think about it, early 2000s, I did not have a mobile phone, and it's just 25 years.
Yes.
We did not have Android 15, 16 years back. It was Symbian or whatever it was, right? So history is something that is very difficult to imagine with the current context. So that's the purpose of this experiment, where
Yes.
we want everyone to understand the context with which we were working at that point,
Yes.
and see if we would have done something differently.
Yep.
That sounds very interesting, Vaidehi. Now, this is re-establishing that this is 3rd June 1947. When do you want to actually accept the Constitution? Do you think 15th August 1947 makes sense, because we are getting independence on that day? What do you think? Should we just go ahead with that date?
Well, while we're getting independence on that date, the Constitution is a long way away from being ready. However, this takes me back to 1930, the 26th of January 1930 specifically, the day on which in the Indian National Congress, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru declared Purna Swaraj, a pledge to achieve complete self-rule independently. So as a nod to that symbolic moment, we will have our Republic Day on 26th of January in the year that our Constitution gets ready.
Wait. So when you say Purna Swaraj, that sort of implies that there was something not Purna Swaraj. So Purna Swaraj is Sanskrit for our non-Hindi speaking audience. Purna Swaraj literally means complete independence. But when we say Purna Swaraj, that implies that there was something before Purna Swaraj or something other than Purna Swaraj. Because when I think of independence, I'm thinking of complete independence. Is there something that is a partial independence?
Well, there isn't partial independence per se, but Purna Swaraj isn't a concept that we arrived at overnight in 1930. So we'll have to go back another decade to understand Swaraj and Purna Swaraj as a concept. So in the 1920s, our Congress leaders like Motilal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi decided to ask for dominion status for India as a way of self-governing. So we would have a sense of autonomy, but we would still be under the British monarchs, and we would still be very loosely obligated to adhere to the British laws. Now, in the 1920s, so we're going back approximately 2 decades from where we are right now. In the 1920s, majority of the world is either being colonized or there are colonizers. Now, among the colonized world, only a few large countries such as Australia and Canada are actually dominions, which means that they have their own sense of autonomy, and all of the rest of the world, including ourselves, we were being colonized. So we were fully under the British laws, and we were fully, as a constitutional monarchy, we were a colony. So in this setting, it seemed more pragmatic to be able to achieve dominion status. I don't think Purna Swaraj or complete freedom and independence as a separate country was something that anyone would have thought of at that time. However, I have to note that in 1921, pioneers Hasrat Mohani and Swami Kumaranand actually declared that Purna Swaraj was something we should aim for, but as Motilal Nehru and Mahatma Gandhi at the time realized, it wasn't something you could achieve immediately. So that official call to Purna Swaraj was later made by Pandit Jawahar Nehru only on 1930, the 26th of January.
Yeah.
And therefore 26th of January, as to re-emphasize, is going to be the day that we will celebrate as Republic Day, the day we'll accept our constitution formally, whenever we finish it.
So also at this time, my understanding is we were celebrating sort of symbolic Independence Day on 26 Jan from 1930 till 1946.
Yes.
Until we got official confirmation that we will be independent.
Yes.
Which makes sense to continue with, which is mostly true for most of the religious festivals as well. If you think about it, many festivals actually are continuation of existing traditions, just rebranded. So it sort of is similar in that sense. Just another fun fact, I am into ghazals, so I listen to a lot of ghazals. Hazrat Mohani, who you spoke about, is also the lyricist or author of famous ghazal, Chupke Chupke Raat Din, which was immortalized by Ghulam Ali. If you're into ghazals, you would know it already, but it's a beautiful, beautiful ghazal. Everyone should listen to it. And he's also the person who actually gave us the slogan Inqilab Zindabad. So he had a lot of contribution to our independence struggle.
That's very interesting.
Yes. So based on what you have said, Vaidehi, it looks like you would have done the exact same things that the leaders did at that time, given the context and the constraints that we had at that time. Thanks a lot for joining today. This is a podcast with Vaidehi, so she will always join. But thanks a lot for participating in this experiment. And to our audience, if you like this format, just tell us in the comments. If you don't like the format, tell us in the comments. And also like and subscribe. And please tell us what you want us to talk about in the future videos. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back with another video to attempt the chaos around us. Attempt the chaos around us.
No, please do not create chaos around us. We will try to understand the chaos around us. Thank you.